Daniel sat frozen at the dining table, his fingers trembling slightly as he stared at the smug woman standing before him. His wife, no, the stranger she had become, crossed her arms, a victorious smirk tugging at her lips. "After 20 years with a loser like you," Sophia spat, her voice dripping with disdain, "I've finally found a real man. He's a retired officer, someone who actually knows how to treat me." She tilted her chin up, her eyes gleaming with a mix of arrogance and triumph, daring him to react. The weight of her words crashed over him like a tidal wave, yet he remained silent. He could feel the ground beneath him shift, the world he had built for 2 decades crumbling in an instant. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow through the kitchen window, but the warmth did nothing to thaw the ice spreading through his chest. He looked at the remnants of his life, the photographs on the wall, the half-eaten dinner on the table, the memories now tainted by betrayal. Sophia leaned in slightly, her smirk widening. "Don't even think about stopping me," she sneered. "He'll crush you." Her words cut deep, a cruel twist of the knife she had already plunged into his back. But Daniel refused to let her see him falter. He had always prided himself on composure, and now, more than ever, he needed to hold on to that. His silence only fueled her arrogance as she let out a mocking chuckle. "You should be thanking me for staying this long," she said, her voice laced with condescension. "But don't worry, I'll make this easy for you." Daniel inhaled deeply, steadying himself as he rose from his chair. A flood of memories washed over him. Late-night conversations that once made them feel invincible, laughter shared over burnt dinners in their tiny first apartment, dreams whispered in the dark. But those days were long gone, replaced by coldness and cutting words. He had sacrificed so much: extra hours at work, vacations postponed, ambitions placed on hold, all for her. And now, she dismissed it with nothing more than a smirk. It would have been easy to lash out, to hurl words back at her with the same venom she spewed. But Daniel knew better. Restraint was his weapon now, dignity his shield. His chest tightened with a mixture of emotions, anger, betrayal, even a flicker of sadness. But one thing was certain: he wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing him crumble. Without a word, he turned, walked to the front door, and pulled it open. His voice was steady, unwavering. "Take what you need, Sophia, and leave." For a fleeting moment, she hesitated. Perhaps she had expected him to beg, to fight, to break. But when he didn't, she scoffed, grabbed her keys, and strode out without another glance. The door clicked shut behind her, sealing the past away with finality. Daniel stood there for a long moment, the weight of 20 years pressing down on him. The house was eerily silent now. No sharp words, no mocking laughter, no presence lingering like a shadow. Just quiet. But he wasn't broken. Not yet. And as the days passed, that silence gave him something he hadn't had in a long time: space. Space to breathe. Space to think. Space to rebuild. Sophia had walked away believing she had won. But karma had its own plans. And Daniel? He was just getting started. Daniel had never been a failure. For years, he had poured his heart and soul into building a stable life for his family, sacrificing personal dreams to ensure that Sophia had everything she ever desired. But now, standing in the silence of his empty home, he realized how much of himself he had lost in the process. It was time to rebuild. One morning, he dusted off an old pair of running shoes, the same ones he hadn't touched in years, and stepped onto the trail near his house. The crisp morning air filled his lungs, and though the first few strides felt sluggish, a flicker of determination pushed him forward. By the end of the week, he was covering longer distances, his endurance growing with each passing day. At work, he threw himself into a long-overlooked project, one that had been pushed aside for too long. Late nights at his desk transformed into moments of triumph, especially the evening he presented a groundbreaking solution to a room full of skeptics. As applause filled the room, his boss pulled him aside and said, "Daniel, This is the leadership we need. These weren't just small wins. They were proof of the man he had always been capable of becoming. Every day, he grew stronger, not just physically but mentally. He tackled challenges head-on, proving to himself that he was more than the version of him Sophia had dismissed. As a skilled software engineer, his expertise was highly valued, and he immersed himself in a high-stakes project that not only earned him professional respect, but also a significant bonus. Slowly but surely, he was reclaiming his sense of self-worth. Yet, Sophia's parting words still echoed in his mind. Her real man, this so-called retired officer, she believed would elevate her life beyond what Daniel could offer. But Daniel didn't seek revenge. He didn't need to. Life had a way of balancing the scales. Months passed, and he was thriving. Through mutual friends and the occasional social media update, he caught glimpses of Sophia's new life. Not out of resentment, but curiosity. And it wasn't long before cracks began to show in the fairy tale she had so confidently embraced. Michael, the man she had left everything for, was not the hero she had imagined. At first, Sophia basked in the attention he lavished on her, but reality soon set in. Michael's temper was volatile, his gambling habits reckless. Their once promising life together quickly spiraled into financial turmoil. The whispers started small. At a formal gala she attended alone, Sophia overheard hushed conversations about Michael's latest public outburst. "He lost it at the bar last week," someone murmured. "He's a disaster," another added. Poor Sophia thought she was upgrading, but she walked straight into a nightmare. Rumors spread like wildfire, each one painting a clearer picture of the chaos she had willingly stepped into. What she once saw as authority and strength in Michael now revealed itself as instability and recklessness. The glamorous life she had envisioned was nothing more than a crumbling illusion. Daniel first caught wind of it at a networking event. Standing near the buffet table, he overheard two colleagues discussing something that made him pause. "Did you hear about Michael? Blacklisted from the casino downtown," one of them muttered. "I heard he got into a shouting match at a bar last week," the other added. Later that night, Daniel's phone buzzed with a message from an old friend. Sophia's new life isn't what she thought. Michael's temper and gambling problems are causing a mess. The pieces began falling into place. The woman who once looked at him with disdain, convinced she had found something better, was now watching her perfect world unravel. One evening, an unexpected call from a mutual acquaintance confirmed everything. "You won't believe what's happening with Sophia," the voice on the other end said. "She's been showing up at events alone. Turns out Michael's drowning in debt, and things are getting ugly." Daniel listened in silence, a quiet realization settling over him. He never needed to prove himself to anyone. Not to Sophia, not to her so-called real man, not to the world. Life had taken care of that for him. And while Sophia was trapped in the consequences of her choices, Daniel was walking a different path, one of growth, success, and newfound strength. Karma had its own way of settling debts. And this time, it had spoken loud and clear. Word had reached Daniel. "She regrets leaving you." He couldn't help but chuckle. Not out of malice, not entirely. But there was a quiet sense of justice in knowing that Sophia's arrogance had led her straight into the consequences of her own choices. A year had passed since she walked away, and Daniel had flourished. When an exclusive gala invitation arrived from a prestigious tech company he had recently partnered with, he accepted without hesitation. The black tie event was filled with industry elites, a place where only those who had truly made something of themselves belonged. Daniel arrived exuding confidence, a stark contrast to the man Sophia had once dismissed as unworthy. His tailored suit fit perfectly, his presence commanding respect as he effortlessly conversed with executives, including the company's CEO. And then fate intervened. Sophia was there. She spotted him across the room, her breath hitching as she took in the undeniable transformation. He carried himself with ease, his success radiating in a way that needed no words. The realization hit her like a wave. This was a man she had once underestimated, Hesitation gripped her as she debated approaching him. The confidence she once wore like armor had eroded, replaced with uncertainty. Her fingers toyed nervously with the strap of her clutch as she took slow, measured steps toward him. When she finally reached him, her voice came out softer than she intended. "Daniel, you look good." Her shoulders dipped slightly, her composure faltering as regret coiled tightly around her. Memories of what she had walked away from flooded her mind. The stability, the unwavering support, the quiet strength Daniel had always shown. And now, standing before him, she felt the full weight of her choices. Daniel turned to face her, his expression unreadable. Silence stretched between them, heavy yet unspoken words lingering in the air. Finally, he gave a polite smile. "Thank you, Sophia. I've been doing well." She swallowed, forcing a small nod. "I heard about your project. Congratulations. You've really accomplished a lot." He met her gaze, unwavering. "I have." His voice was calm, steady. "And you? How's life with Michael?" Her expression darkened for just a second, betraying the truth before she even spoke. "It's complicated. He's been struggling with some things." Daniel's smile remained unaffected. "I'm sorry to hear that. I hope things work out for you." Sophia parted her lips as if to say more, but before she could, Daniel gave her a small nod and excused himself. He walked away without looking back, leaving her standing there in the middle of a room filled with people, yet utterly alone. There was no anger in his heart, no resentment, just peace. That night, as Daniel stood on his balcony, looking out over the illuminated city skyline, he let himself reflect. Sophia's betrayal had broken him once, but it had also been the spark that ignited his transformation. Every setback had led to growth. Every moment of doubt had pushed him toward rediscovering his true worth. The cool evening breeze brushed against his skin as he inhaled deeply, realization settling within him. His success had never been about revenge. It had never been about proving anything to Sophia or anyone else. It had always been about himself, his growth, his resilience, his journey forward. Sophia's downfall? That was simply a reminder that life had a way of delivering its own lessons. True strength wasn't about winning someone back. It was about letting them go and moving forward. And that, Daniel knew, was the greatest victory of all.